when you're farming or when you live on farm, or it can feel very isolating. And when you have this, when you're part of something bigger than yourself, it kind of takes you out of that isolating feeling and gives you a better outlook sometimes. So if you're kind of on the fence about whether you have the time to do this, or if you even want to take something new on, just come. Just try it. It's one meeting, one evening. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. But chances are when you come, you'll stay.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast. Today I'm joined by Nick and Courtney Gerace. They are farmers from St. Landry Parish. And guys, I'm so excited to talk about what y'all are here to do today.
Thank you. So we are here for our first YF&R committee meeting.
Yeah.
After convention, that is. So the way that come about is a friend of mine made me put my foot in my mouth. Because I said, man, I don't want to be chair. I don't want to drive back and forth to Baton Rouge. And then I'll try convincing him to join American Farm Bureau. And he looks at me and he says, you want me to travel across the country, but you don't want to drive back and forth to Baton Rouge. I said, well, I guess I'm gonna run for chair.
So we ran for chair.
Well, let's back up a little bit. What do y'all farm in St. Landry Parish? I know y'all have an army of children, but aside from the children, what do y'all spend your time raising back at home?
So we farm in St. Landry Parish. We are primarily sugarcane. We've got a little bit of soybeans and a commercial cattle herd, and we've got the 5 kids.
My wife loves to say she's raising crops, cows, and kids, or we are raising crops, cows.
Well, we know who's doing the work.
Yeah.
Yes, well, absolutely, we know who's doing the work.
Good answer, Nick. Good answer. So, Courtney, I know for you were raised around horses, but is livestock I know, is it still your kind of baby? I know a few years ago when I did my first story where I first met you guys, that was your baby. Is that still the case?
And very much so. I grew up showing horses. I was about 11, I think, when I got my first horse. But we never had a herd of cattle, and that is just, I just absolutely love it. And it's something that we can do with the whole family. Everybody gets to come check the cows, feed the cows, work the cows. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, that's really fun. And sugarcane, I know, is y'all's primary crop. Nick, were you raised on a farm? Did your parents farm? I'm
a 4th generation farmer, but we planted our first sugar crop in 17. Couldn't see making a decent living all the time farming grain, and the opportunity come. The mills moved north with the opportunity for us to plant sugarcane, and we took it.
You had any regrets in that last 7-8 years?
No, I don't. I make a more consistent living farming sugarcane versus farming grain.
Even with a longer harvest?
Even with a longer harvest.
It's worth it.
It's got its own headaches. I don't want to say more headaches. You know, everything has its own problems, but
it's a unique set of challenges, but it was honestly a really easy transition to go from strictly grain into the sugarcane growing. So yeah, it's worked out well. We've got a lot of support too.
Does the mill help y'all harvest? Have y'all?
Yes, we use the harvest group with the mill.
I know that's been like a nice entry for a lot of folks to.
Yeah, without that, I probably would not have entered into sugarcane. It made my acres I farm, I couldn't justify the cost to to buy all the wagons, the combine, and just the 110, 115 days of being out there.
Yeah, that's a lot. So just kind of like that helped get you into sugarcane. How did y'all get involved in Young Farmers and Ranchers? Not just the chairmanship, but before that, who was it that helped draw y'all into that?
So a friend of mine called me.
You can name drop.
Okay. So Vincent Cantel is a good friend of mine, and one day he called and said, "Hey, come to a parish meeting." I said, "Okay." I didn't know nothing of it. I've always had Farm Bureau insurance and didn't think nothing of it. At the end of the meeting, he was like, "So did you enjoy it? Did you like it?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." He says, "Okay, you're going to be the parish chair." I was like, "What? What does that even entail?" Like, I didn't know what it was.
Was that right when he was aging out?
Right before.
Right before he aged out?
Yeah. So he says, "Don't worry." He says, "I'm going to help you with everything." And so for the first year of me being chair, I'm pretty convinced it was me and him being chair. But yeah, so that's how I was kind of just shoved into it.
You had this Farm Bureau insurance. Did you know anything about Farm Bureau coming into this?
I didn't know anything about the Federation side, but this was overall, the organization is not a new thing to me. I was very involved in 4-H growing up.
Okay.
And then when I got to college, it was Block and Bridle and the Dairy Science Club. And so the involvement, the camaraderie, the traveling, the competitions, the networking, that was all something that I didn't realize I was missing until we got into Farm Bureau on the parish level. And then we were fortunate enough to get involved on the state level. And so it's, again, not a new thing for me, but it was a new organization that I just wasn't aware of. And thanks to Vince and Kristen, that's how we got our start. And it's been fantastic.
Yeah. No regrets getting plugged into this organization.
None.
The more involved we got, the more involved we got. And it's actually led to, I'm currently in LSU's Ag Leadership class, which I found out through Farm Bureau.
Yeah.
My wife's job, all farm job, is now due to a Farm Bureau meeting also.
At this time last year, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been, and the amount of contacts and friends and just everything, it's opened so many doors for us.
Well, I was going to ask y'all, what is it about Farm Bureau? You've mentioned the competitions, you mentioned the networking. I mean, for y'all, what is it that makes it something, makes the organization, makes your involvement in young farmers something that you want to, I guess, encourage your neighbors, but also continue to do yourself? What is it that kind of keeps y'all locked in and engaged?
I feel like this is, we've said it, it's a family, but it's so much more that we can just put into words because, the things that we get to do as a couple and with our kids, with our entire family, it's just, it's more than we could have thought up. And so we get to do things like the national leadership conferences, the livestock show. We spend an entire weekend with cows and our kids. In fact, our youngest, Gabriel, had his 3rd birthday this past year at the livestock show. And that was the highlight of his year, that he got to turn 3 in the cow barn.
And everybody that we sit with state committee with at the time was part of his birthday.
Yeah.
It was a family event.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Farm Bureau family, but it was a family event for him.
That's really
It's
cool.
pretty cool. So we love not only what we get to do with and through the organization, for ourselves, for our farm, but also for the bigger picture. But there's so much more that we get from it just by being part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So she mentions bigger picture just now. That's something else that I've learned since I've gotten involved. Yes, I love the networking. I love the family and all of this. But another big thing is I didn't realize Farm Bureau is the voice of farmers. And I am now another voice for farmers.
You're adding to that voice.
Yeah, I'm adding to that voice. And
He also didn't realize how much fun he'd have on Capitol Hill.
You had fun? You liked that?
He
I love
loves
DC.
it. When we get off of Capitol Hill, it's like, man, that was so much fun. When are we coming again?
I could,
Yeah.
I enjoy dealing with the politicians for some strange reason, or their staffers anyway. I love going to tell my story and tell them what I believe we need on the farms and protecting what we do.
Not just what you need, but we have that not only ability but responsibility to carry the needs of our area and the needs of our state. So it's not just about us. When we go, it's like I said, we're adding our voice to that collective voice to fight for what we need and ask for what we need, advocate for what we need.
Yeah, and you're not just advocating, like you said, for your own farm, but your neighbors, and whether it be the neighbors in St. Landry Parish or across the states. That's really cool. I was about to ask you. Here we are. But what doors has being involved in Farm Bureau opened, more than just having a 3-year-old's birthday party at a show barn? Like, what kind of doors has it opened for y'all?
So as I mentioned, my LSU leadership class, that's been a 2-year program, and I have just what it says, development. And it's a leadership development. And I have grown so many ways I didn't know I would. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. On farm things that have come up, I can call just about anybody in the state that I know, and somebody has dealt with this problem and can speed up resolving my issue. Mm-hmm. So I got friends that's equipment dealers. I got friends that can, that specialize in agronomy or something. There's an issue that I need. whether it's finding a piece of equipment, what is this bug or this disease? I can make a phone call and almost have an answer in a few minutes.
Well, it broadens your perspective too, because we have all farm experiences that we take back to our farm, and we kind of view it through a new lens, and it helps to sharpen and reshape our operation a lot of times. And then he mentioned my job too. So at this time last year, we had our post-convention state committee meeting, and this job description was passed around, and I had a friend on either side of me that nudged me and said, "You should apply for this."
What is it?
Well, that's the thing is I looked at this job description and said, I don't even know what this is, but okay, sure. And so it turns out that later that year, in November, in fact, I started as the executive director for the Louisiana Association of Conservation Districts, which is huge because this is the off-farm job that I couldn't have dreamed of myself, that has benefited our on-farm job so much. So I get to work for the association that all of our 44 soil and water conservation districts around the state belong to. So I get to work with everyone around the state for to promote private land conservation, natural resource conservation. So I see we partner with NRCS. So I see conservation practices implemented from the ground up and created from the top to the farmer. So it's a pretty interesting job, and it's through Farm Bureau that I even found out about it.
And she won't say this, but she's the first executive director for Louisiana. Now, LACD is part of a national organization, but she's and other states do have executive directors, but she is the first for Louisiana.
Is that because of a growth in Louisiana's conservation efforts, or how did that kind of come about?
So we LACD partnered with NRCS with a grant to be able to hire me or to create this position, and I happened to be the one hired for it. And I'm not sure what the conversation was for the need to move this route, but I'm grateful for it. Yeah. So yeah, we've been an organization, an association since 1947, and this is the first time that we've had an executive director, and it is an incredibly fun job.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I know y'all are here for a Young Farmers and Ranchers committee meeting. Y'all are about to start talking business. I know y'all are going to talk about a livestock show maybe, or Christmas gatherings, and I know it's about to be looking ahead to the year. As chair, y'all have been involved in this position for a minute in the committee, state committee. What are y'all excited about in this new role that y'all are in?
I don't know. I just kind of like going back to my comment about DC. I've really enjoyed the business aspect of all this. And some of my committee members, they are new to YFNR and were thrown into it kind of like I am, except they're at a state level now. So we get to do these things with them, and whether it's the events, whether it's to show them the voice that Farm Bureau is for farmers, that's a couple of things that really are I'm really excited about. So
in the letter that we sent out, that was stating that we were interested, that we had the intent to run for a state chair. We mentioned the fact that we have gotten so much from this, that it has really shaped the way we think about things, the way we do things, just being involved on the state committee. And so the opportunity to be state chair gives us the ability to share that with the committee, and hopefully help to shape their experience here. We want to do what has been done for us, and keep it going for the people who come to committee after us.
You're telling me, I was never a part of YFNR. You're telling me it's not just fun and games. Y'all actually are going to talk policy, and there's business involved in this.
There is some business, but we do like to play.
Y'all do have fun too.
We do have fun, but the business part of it is crucial. And you talk about succession of anything, and the people on state committee are the leaders on the executive board, and it seems like a ways away, but in a very short few years, moving up, and there will be new people on state committee. And so it's important to learn how to do things and get comfortable with the policies and procedures. And when you get to the top, you're good to go. It's not new anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number, but I do know a handful of our state board of, Farm Bureau state board come through YF&R.
Mm-hmm. The president, for sure.
Yeah.
He's a big advocate for YF&R being a training ground and being that first step into the leadership that y'all are bound for.
Right.
So I get to work with him doubly because he is also a soil and water conservation district supervisor. So yeah, he wears many hats and he's good at it.
Yeah. Well, guys, I appreciate y'all and taking the time. I know it takes time away from the farm, away from the kids to come and plug in this way that y'all are as a state committee chair. But the value that folks like you, farmers like y'all, bring to the organization, from me as a state staff guy, I appreciate. And it's encouraging, and it really motivates me seeing young families like y'all that are plugging in and investing your time. So thank you.
And that's something I'm always looking to try and educate people about this, because it's done so much for us. Like, I really would love to see more people involved in it.
Well, what do you say to someone that's maybe listening to this that is looking for that nudge? Maybe not the Vincent Canatella phone call.
I was going to say, if he just leads by example, you just drag him this way. You don't say anything.
What would your I guess message to that person that maybe says, I think I fall in this 18 to 35 range. What do I do? What would you say to them?
So most of the time I'll tell them that it's a way to make connections and develop lifelong friendships. I see some of these people at convention that obviously were in YF&R 30 years ago that are still cutting up like they're 18 years old. And so that's one thing. You make friends and connections that's become lifelong family members. Mm-hmm. So, that's something that's important to us.
I think I've mentioned this before. When you're farming or when you live on farm, or it can feel very isolating. And when you have this, when you're part of something bigger than yourself, it kind of takes you out of that isolating feeling and gives you a better outlook sometimes. And that, so if you're kind of on the fence about whether you have the time to do this, or if you even want to take something new on, just come, just try it. It's one meeting, one evening. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. But chances are when you come, you'll stay.
Very well said. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to let y'all go because y'all have to get to the meeting. But if you want to learn more about Young Farmers and Ranchers, Louisiana Young Farmers and Ranchers, head to the description, the show notes, and I'll have a link there. You can find out more about it. You can find out more about upcoming events. If you want to learn more about Nick and Courtney, I've got a link in the show notes also to a video I did on you guys a couple years ago when y'all were Young Farmers and Ranchers Achievement Award finalists. So if you want to see those, check out the show notes. Please subscribe, like this video if you're watching this on YouTube, and share it with a friend. If you have a friend that maybe falls in that 18 to 35 range, share this podcast, this video with them, and they will maybe be at the next meeting. Who knows? So thanks for listening. We'll see you again right here next time on the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast.